What's up guys, Hbox here, and today I want to discuss a new potential Switch coming out that will be deemed, I suppose, the Switch Pro, Nintendo Switch Pro. Now there was rumors about this going around as to what it would entail, including 4K upgrades, including a different kind of screen, and this article from CNET sort of summarizes it for you. So I wanted to read it with you guys and give you my own thoughts. Basically they're saying, it debuted 4 years ago, and the Switch Lite also arrived 2 years ago, along with the Xbox Series X and PS5. And they had a rundown of upcoming Switch games with no news on anything with a new console. But because the Switch debuted 4 years ago and the Switch Lite arrived, Nintendo right now is sort of primed to upgrade their console. As with the 3DS family, we saw that they didn't stop at just a Nintendo DS. They went for a DS Lite, then a 3DS, then a 3DS XL, then a 3DS 2DS, and the new Nintendo 3DS XL. Nintendo is always known for making constant tweaks and upgrades to their handheld consoles. And because the Switch now is the marriage between handheld and console, it's probably a good time, or probably long overdue, for that to happen. There wasn't a new Switch in 2020, but the rumor is that a new Switch could happen in 2021. And you can compare it as maybe a Switch XL is what they're thinking. So CNET's rumors says that very likely there will be a larger OLED display and improved TV gaming while docked. So this Bloomberg report confirmed says that there will be an OLED display coming this year, and the 7-inch Samsung OLED could be 720p. The Switch and the Switch Lite also have 720p displays, but they're 6.2 and 5.5 inch LCD panels. So basically, it'll be an OLED screen with a 7-inch panel, slightly bigger than the one you have, which will still be enough, or pretty enticing enough for a lot of people to buy it, because 6.2 to a 7-inch screen, that would be something like a maybe 20% increase in screen size, between 15 and 20%. So that would be a pretty good increase, and I think a lot of people who do like taking their Switch on the go, they really would enjoy doing that. And the fact that it is OLED, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a really good OLED monitor or an OLED TV. Sometimes people go like TV shopping or monitor shopping, and they're not really they don't really understand what OLED or QLED means. Just know with OLED, the pixels that are black on the screen turn into a pure black, and they use a way more it's a way more precise way of displaying color on a screen. It's way more pleasing, I feel, to the eyes. The only downside of OLED on monitors is that there is burn-in more often than regular screens. However, maybe with the Nintendo Switch and maybe with some new technology, they changed it up. But it seems to be confirmed for a fact that there will be, once again, that 7-inch 720p resolution OLED panel. So that seems to be the case. Now, when it's docked, they're making the rumors of 4K game resolution on a TV. It feels overdue, but does that mean the new wave of games are also 4K optimized? And also, how will those games play on a 720 screen on the go? And how will those games feel on older Switches? This is an excellent point. If Nintendo is releasing a new Switch that has 4K capability, does that mean every single game that they've released before will now have this new potential to be upscaled to 4K? It'll play on the 4K, but it sure as hell won't be. Rendering a game from 1080p into 4K isn't just a one-button switch. You have to go and redo everything and all the renders in the entire game. It's not an easy process. More than likely, the games will just be compatible on there. They'll be displayed as 1080p, but all the new titles coming out, maybe even, if it's a rehash or Odyssey 2 or whatever, like those games will be 4K, and that would be a really good idea in my opinion, and that would even potentially justify a slight price hike in selling games. Right now they're being sold at $59.99. Maybe those 4K titles in the Switch Pro could be sold at $69.99. I personally wouldn't like it, but if Nintendo is finally offering their first ever 4K games, it could actually be a pretty good idea for them. And they're saying here also that previous Nintendo 3DS updates do offer an idea of how the Switch could incrementally evolve, when the original Switch arrived in 2017, there was some evolutions. The Switch Lite, it got a significant battery boost, especially on the go. Nintendo's handhelds tend to get evolutions every couple of years. Like I said, the 3DS got followed by the 3DS XL. 2011, 2012, and 2013 was a 2DS, and then of course in 2014 was the new Nintendo 3DS and the new Nintendo 3DS XL, and then the new Nintendo 2DS XL. I know Nintendo isn't exactly the best at naming their consoles. And reading all this, there is a lot of room to improve the Switch. I mean, they really, honestly, I've been telling this to everyone. As a console in of itself, the Nintendo Switch is very, very close to being like Nintendo's magnum opus. I mean, it is literally a portable console that runs perfectly well on the go. You can dock it. It looks beautiful on big screens. The games run and load quick. Decent frame rates for the most parts, and it literally is the marriage of the handheld and console era. When you have, you know, PlayStation and Xbox and sticking to their console idea, the Nintendo Switch really is, as you call it, a Switch. It's a difference from your traditional gaming experience. And as someone who's played the game of the console, you know, both on my TV and on the go, it's been an incredibly pleasant experience. I extremely enjoyed playing Odyssey on it, and I think it feels great in the hands. So they really, on the first try, hit it out of the park. And I think that has had a lot to do with the fact that the Wii U was sort of like a predecessor for it. Like, you can see, like, the idea of the Wii U, the gamepad, in the shape of the Switch. The Wii U was kind of like the prototype, right? It was like the testing period, like, can we create this sort of handheld gaming tablet in which you could play your games on the go? Now, for those of you who did own a Wii U, by the way, you could still play all your games on your gamepad. You just had to be in the range of the console itself. I had a friend who actually took his Nintendo Wii U on a bus trip, like a 9-hour bus trip across the country, plugged in his Nintendo Wii U into an outlet on the bus, and then just used his gamepad to play the games. And that worked as a functioning screen. Even back in the day in earlier Smash 4 tournaments, when there wasn't enough monitors to go around, people would use the actual gamepad as the screen to play on. Granted, it was tiny, but it still was fully functional, and it worked. So that was, you can clearly tell that was like the predecessor for this. With this time, they perfected it. They said, you don't need the console around because it is the console. It's a glorified NVIDIA shield, some might say, but it works, right? But as they point out, small updates still could offer a lot of upside. The biggest thing, of course, being the Joy-Cons. We've heard of Joy-Cons breaking, we've heard of the Joy-Con drift. They could do a lot of upgrades to the Joy-Cons itself, maybe give customizable options, maybe make the sticks a little more similar to a GameCube, give a little more feel to them, a little more torque. They could also do some hardware changes as well. PS5 and Xbox, obviously, way more powerful than the Switch. But if the Switch allows for 4K graphics, what cost will that come at? Will the battery life be way more horrible? Will the frame rate be a lot more horrible? Will they be able to actually make everything better for, and sort of upscale the Switch but sell it at a way higher premium? I think that option should exist. I think there should be a Switch option. If the current Switch is $300, there should be a $400 Switch option which offers you all those things. And if it's that good, make it worth the money and people will buy it. We are long overdue for a Switch Pro. Give us at least the OLED display. Give us that bigger screen. Give us new Joy-Cons. I think 4K, it's a bit of a pipe dream. Although having new games in 4K would be absolutely amazing. And, Nintendo is always late to the party with the newest thing. Like, as soon as PlayStation and Xbox start releasing games in 8K in 5 years, they'll take another, 3, 4, 5 years to catch up. It's kind of the game they play. They always play catch up, and they always offer a cheaper alternative. It's kind of what we're used to with Nintendo. However, Nintendo has now sacrificed their handheld market and put it all on the Switch. It's all going to be the Switch, and that means that every one of Nintendo's consoles in the future will most likely also be handhelds with a dock. I think they've actually played themselves into that platform now to the point where they can't escape it, because they were the kings of the handheld market, and the only thing competing with them right now is, of course, phone games. So they don't want to lose that. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. What would you want to see in a Switch Pro? What features would be the absolute best for you to justify a price hike? And whether or not you think a Switch Pro is even justified. If you're happy with what you have, let me know. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see a Switch Pro later this year. Thanks, guys.